What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts, Arm of the Side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, Mr. Tad the Side. And Tad, just this past Thursday, we have officially gotten the NFL schedule, so we know which games are playing on which weeks and which teams are traveling during which times, and all of that is all set. The primetime slate is there. The international series I know was announced before, but that's all set too. So I mean, it's like we have it all. We know when each game is happening. It's exciting stuff.
So, two things with this before we really get into the nitty gritty details. First off, obviously the Chargers win best schedule release video. Like
Safe
packing
to say.
that many
Yeah,
references
safe to
into
say.
one video, it was like breaking down a Marvel movie. Of like, I need some expert to come in to tell me everything they made fun of. That was just masterfully done. We'll break it down further in the next video. Also, did you see this whole thing with the fake Twitter account?
Yeah, about the
That was
guy sort of
amazing.
yeah, that was fun stuff. Creating an account just to announce some games that are happening at certain weeks, and it was all fake, and he
It
got
was
like
all
10,000
and he
subscribers
did
on
it for like
Twitter. Is
3 days, and like Ian Rappaport and people were retweeting him. Like it was phenomenal.
It was pretty surprising. It was
I
pretty
love the
surprising for
internet.
sure.
I love the internet, man.
But yeah, so we're gonna get into the schedule release videos and all that fun in a later episode, probably on our podcast. But yeah, we're gonna use today's episode to actually dive into the games. We're gonna get into both of our personal teams, the Colts and the Niners. We're gonna discuss some games there. We're gonna discuss the international series, so those 5 games that are happening. We're gonna discuss our favorite games for the Thursday night, Monday night, and Sunday night football schedules, and then if we have time, throw in an extra game that we're looking
Yeah,
forward to
sure,
this
why
season.
not?
So,
A little
um,
extra spice on top.
exactly. So, Tad, let's start with our personal teams here. So, your Colts, my Niners. How do you feel overall about your schedule so far, though? Just in general.
I mean, after last year's schedule release, where I'm like, oh shit, the Colts may actually start 0-6. I feel much, much better about this. It's nice that we have a quarterback that is not so much of a question mark. Nothing against Carson Wentz. I have gone to bat for him in the past, and I still will. I don't think he was really our biggest problem. I'm about to do a Colts podcast here, so I'll move on. But generally, I feel pretty good. It's still tough, but it's just any team in the AFC, you're gonna have a tough schedule. The AFC is stacked this year.
That's for sure. That's for sure. But yeah, looking at my Niners schedule too, it's like we got a good mix of some, tough opponents. We got some easy opponents as well. I do like that we have the bye week in week 9. So it's right there, right around the middle. So it's like we have a good judgment there as far as like, okay, now we can adjust from the first half of the season to approach the second half of the season. I think your bye week is all the way in like week
It's
14,
dude,
if I
it's
remember correctly,
it's
right?
yeah, it's week 14 or 13. But
Super
it's
late. That's
rough.
the big
It's
thing.
rough. Well, and the exact same thing happened to us last year. And if you watch that in-season Hard Knock season, which by the way was pretty solid. If you haven't watched it, give it a watch. But literally the episode leading up to that, week, all the players were like, we're dying. We need a week off. And I was just like, I watched it because I didn't really want to watch it because I was just I was too emotionally invested at that point. So I only watched it for the first time like a couple months ago. And just knowing how it all ended, I'm like, if this bye week was just 2 weeks earlier, god damn it. So yeah, now that bye week placement is killer. So week nine's I think like I'm still like on the 16 game schedule thing, but I think like week 7 to 9, that's the sweet spot for your bye weeks. If your bye weeks in week 4, you're like, oh god,
Yeah.
someone's gonna
I
get
hate
hurt.
having the early bye week
Someone's
because
gonna
it's
get
like
hurt.
you
Yeah.
have no judgment on your team by that point. It's
No,
like,
hell
are
no.
we
And you're
good? Are
just
we
like,
bad?
yeah,
Who knows?
exactly.
We don't need a break right now.
We're a month in. Like, what are we doing here? It's like
Exactly.
having a snow day for school in like October. Of like, okay, yeah, this is great, but we don't really need this now. Can we say this till February?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So why don't you dive into the Colts schedule here, Tad? And why don't you pick the game that you're most excited for on the Colts schedule this year?
Remember, I want to take you back in time.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
You don't have to sound so excited for it. Back in February 2018, the Colts made a move that I was actually not a fan of. They said we're going to hire this person. And this particular person put together a good staff now that I realize it, but at the time I was not a fan. And this particular person, because he's a bitch, was talked into staying in his current job because he's a bitch and absolutely screwed over the Colts. Now, look, I'm not a fan of Chris Ballard. I will admit that I am sick of all this. Like, oh, Colts have all this money in free agency. Are they going to spend it? No, because we don't spend money in free agency for some reason. Oh, the Colts have this, great quarterback sitting there in the third round. Are we going to take him? No, because whatever. I still don't understand the reasoning behind that. I don't quite agree with all of Chris Ballard's philosophies, but this is when this man, until he is fired, forever won me over. Josh McDaniels, that MFer, totally screwed over a franchise because he said, I will be your coach. And then at the very last minute, because Belichick and Kraft just did their little sneaky snake shit, talked him into staying. And you know what? Ballard finished up his press conference when they announced that, like, oh, McDaniels isn't actually going to be our coach. He said, rivalry's back on. The second he said that, I was like, I'm in. I am in. I got you. Like, this is the dude who got rid of Peyton Manning. And I was like, okay, all right. Like, I need you to prove it. Well, that was the moment I'm like, you get Colts culture. Like, he understood how much we hate that franchise. And guess what? We are going to Foxborough week 9, baby. And you know what we're going to do? We are going to run Mac Jones into the ground. I cannot wait. This is going to be a marquee AFC matchup. Week 9 at the Patriots. Now, honestly, I really thought that this was going to be a primetime game. It's not. It's a 12 p.m. game, but I will take it. So, because if my day is going to get ruined, at least it gets ruined early. So I could just kind of put up with it for the rest of the day. But here's the thing. It's not going to get ruined early because the Colts now have this, it's this great, kind of dichotomy of matchup quarterbacks. You got Matt Ryan on his ride into the sunset, trying to get that title he was never able to get, and you get Mac Jones, the guy that's trying to prove that he's the real deal. Because look, I'm not saying Mac Jones is bad, but I still am not totally convinced that he is their answer at quarterback going forward. I think he will be, but I'm just not, he's not quite there yet for me. So I cannot wait for this matchup. This just screams that like noon game that everyone, yeah, sure, you watch all the other games and the highlights and so, oh, this game's close. I'll cut to that for a bit. But this is the game that everyone's going to watch. Colts Patriots week 9. I cannot wait for this. This is the most underrated rivalry in football.
Should be a pretty good game. It's unfortunate that McDaniels is no longer with the team, though. He's now head coaching the Las Vegas Raiders. So, I mean, that sort of, takes a step away from the heated rivalry, right? The whole, spark, obviously, but should still be a good game. Should still be a good, very AFC matchup there. So, looking into the Niners schedule, I saw one game in particular that's happening towards the middle of the season. And I think this is just going to be a good benchmark game to see where both of these teams are as they sort of push for a playoff spot in both of their respective conferences.
What is a benchmark?
So, just the,
no, I know the meaning of a benchmark, but what's like the origin? You know what? You go ahead. I'm gonna look up the meaning of benchmark.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. You do that. So this is week 10, November 13th. The Los Angeles Chargers are traveling to play the San Francisco 49ers in Levi's Stadium. So, I mean, just there's so many storylines in this game in a midseason matchup that, like I said, it's just going to be a good test for both of these teams as far as where they are, what do they need to fix, what do they need to adjust as they sort of make that push during the final 6 or so weeks of the regular season to make a playoff spot and possibly adjust their seating as well. So I mean, it's like you look at the young quarterbacks that are playing. Most likely it's going to be Trey Lance. I mean, it's still obviously a question mark, but I'm leaning towards it's going to be Trey Lance. Obviously, on the other side, you got Justin Herbert with the Chargers. I mean, there's an excellent matchup there. You got the whole Northern California versus Southern California. You got that whole rivalry. You got the battle of the brothers. You got Joey Bosa with the Chargers. You got Nick Bosa with the Niners. So that's going to be exciting to watch.
That's a good matchup.
And of course, you got a battle of two very young, promising head coaches in Kyle Shanahan and Brandon Staley. So, I mean, they're definitely going to be testing each other. Obviously, Brandon Staley, formerly of the Los Angeles Rams, so he's familiar with Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan's familiar with him because of that matchup as well. So, it's going to be a really good back and forth chess game between the two young head coaches. Also, have to throw in the fact that the Niners are going to be coming off a bye week heading into this game, so they'll definitely be prepared for this game. And then the Chargers will be coming off 2 weeks off of their bye week. So they'll play Atlanta, and then they're going to play the San Francisco 49ers.
So back-to-back bye weeks for the Chargers then.
Kind of, yeah, essentially. But either way, both of these teams are going to come in prepared. Hopefully, it should be a really good matchup. And throw into the fact here, Sunday Night Football as well.
Oh, yep. No, that's good. I like the Bosa. You know they're going to focus a lot on that.
Oh, of course they will.
That's going to be the thing. Is Collinsworth still on Sunday Night Football? Who's the Sunday Night
Yeah,
Football
it's
crew now?
Tirico and Collinsworth. Yeah.
Okay, you know Collinsworth, like kind of the same thing he was doing with Mahomes' eyes. If you remember that weird game last season, he's gonna bring up the Bosa brothers like 15 times. Like, I bet you that's gonna be a bet. Is how often does he bring up the Bosa brothers? But
Someone's
also,
gonna remark about it on Twitter for sure.
Yeah,
How many times are
100%.
gonna bring up the Bosa brothers?
It's gonna be obnoxious. But a benchmark was used in the 19th century when there were both archers and gunmen as a similar spot for them both to aim for.
There you go. There you go.
Getting educated on this side, guys, tonight. How about that?
All right, Tad. So that's obviously diving into some of our personal favorite games for our favorite teams. But let's jump into the international series. So we got 5 games this year. We have 3 games happening in London. We have a game for the first time happening in Germany, in Munich. And the NFL is returning to Mexico City for a game as well. So, I mean, we're not going to spend a ton of time on every game, but yeah, let's dive into some of these London games first before we get to the more exciting ones, unfortunately, in Munich and in Mexico City. Those are a little bit more exciting. So, one of the first games that we have is Minnesota versus the New Orleans Saints. This is pretty interesting, Tad. Both teams are undefeated in international series games.
That's what your note meant. Okay, sorry. To give people a background info here, is Amir's note say both team undefeated 2-0. I thought he meant that they were going to go into this week 2-0. I was like, wow, you're going record prediction with the Vikings and Saints. I'm not going to touch that because, I don't care. So, okay, that makes more sense. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so both teams are 2-0.
I'm surprised they both have played 2 games there. Who the Vikings played there?
I don't remember, but
because the Saints, I remember being there for a bit, but yeah, interesting.
So both teams are 2-0. So one of them will leave London with a loss finally in the international series. So
don't you count out a tie, my friend.
It's very possible. Very possible. The next game that we have is the New York Giants will be playing the Green Bay Packers in London. First time that the Packers are playing in an international series game. So they were the last team to play in a in America game, regular season game. They're finally traveling across waters to play an international game. So that should be pretty interesting for the folks across the pond to see the Packers now.
One of the more interesting ways I've ever heard the word foreign pronounced is non in America.
Not in America.
Not in America.
That's the best way to put it.
But no, that is interesting. Like one of our more marquee, not just football, but like honestly sport franchises. This is the first time they're going international. We've been doing this like almost over a decade now. That's surprising.
I wonder if they were able to sort of push it off as long as they could, and then finally.
But why would you want to push it off? Nope, that's good marketing.
You have to do it.
No,
well, I don't know. Maybe it's because you don't want to have that travel and the jet lag and just all that stuff. I have no idea, but whatever it is, they're finally going.
Rogers said, "I'm not doing it. Otherwise, I demand a trade," and then doesn't actually demand a trade.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Then the last game that we have that, unfortunately, Tad, I was trying to find any sort of interesting notes on this one, but I don't think it's going to be that interesting. We got the Denver Broncos playing the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's the London Jaguars at this point. Let's be real.
The London Jaguars. There you go. So those are the 3 London games that we have happening this year. Now let's jump into 2 of the more interesting international games. So the first one that we have, Seattle Seahawks will be playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Munich, Germany. So this is the first time that we have a game happening in Germany. Here's an interesting fact. The Bucs have the most losses without a victory in international games. So the Jacksonville Jaguars obviously play there 8 times, so they have 4 wins, 4 losses, but the Buccaneers are the only team with the most losses without an actual victory. So this should be pretty interesting to see if they could sort of get a notch in the win column.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Is this is in Bayern Munich Stadium, correct?
That's correct.
So that's a very, very cool concept. I'm looking forward to seeing that on TV and stuff. I feel bad for those players. That travel's gonna be a bitch and a half. Like that is not something I'd be happy with. If I had to go all the way to Germany to play 1 game of football and then come all the way back to America, even if I had that bye weeks to kind of help that back up. Like I don't know about you, dude. Anytime I travel internationally, that jet lag hits me hard. Like I don't feel right until a week after I get back.
I think it hits anybody hard. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to be a struggle to obviously adjust with the rest of the season. But yeah, they had the bye week right after, so they should be okay. But yeah, we'll see how that
Man,
plays out.
even then, it just sucks. Like that's just so unnecessary to put up with. But like I said, hey, it's gonna look cool as shit on TV, so I'm down.
Then the last game that we have here in our international series is the San Francisco 49ers are going to be playing the Arizona Cardinals in Mexico City, Estadio Azteca, one of the largest stadiums in North America, maybe even in the world too. I can't
Let me
remember
try
that.
that.
I
Let me
can't
try
be
that.
exact on that one, but it's a huge stadium. So just a couple fun facts
Hold on,
about
hold on,
this
hold on.
game.
Time out,
Yeah,
time out, time out. Estadio Azteca.
yeah, it's your
What did I mess up? Azteca?
no, you're fine. Just it's very
White.
gringo version.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. So you said everything fine. Just
Oh man. This is why my students can never tell what race I am.
oh gosh. So yeah, just some fun facts about this game in particular. This is the first regular season game played outside the NFL was between these two teams. So under the
Oh
name
wow.
of Football Americano, that was back in 2005, October 2nd. So this is the first time that they tested this. Before that, they had some preseason games that happened, but this was the first regular season game that happened in Mexico City. Had a then record of 103,467 people in attendance during that game. Arizona defeated the San Francisco 49ers 31-14. And I think because of the success of this game, it pretty much allowed the NFL to sort of pursue this as an opportunity. And only 2 years later, in 2007, we started to have the London games and it became a regular thing in the NFL. And yeah, look at us now. We have 5 international games. So this is sort of the thing that sort of kicked it off. And it's nice that they're going back to where it all began, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you just gave me a bunch of fun facts. Thank God we did this before our next Who Wants to Be a Millionaire episode because I would not have gotten any of those. No, I love the Mexico City games. People always talk like, oh, are we going to get a London team? Are we going to, get, so and so team? No, we're not getting a London team. That's not happening for, the travel difficulties we discussed. Mexico City and Toronto are honestly my bets for the next two favorite cities to get an NFL team. Obviously, I'd love to say St. Louis, but I think that relationship has soured enough where I think that's not happening. But anyway, so the Mexico City game I actually really love because you can tell the crowd does really, really love that game. It's a really cool environment. I just funny because I had no reasoning behind this, but you gotta remember that I don't know if this was the last game in Mexico City, but the last game I remember being in Mexico City is possibly the best football game I've ever seen on TV. It was the Monday night Rams versus Chiefs game in Mexico City that the Rams won 54-51. It was honestly like watching a video game. Was it
So
Sunday night?
correction on that one. Correction on that one. It actually ended up being played in the United States because I think there was
Right. No,
something that
you're
happened.
right. You're right. You're
I
right. You're
can't
right. It
remember
was
what happened. Whether it
what
was like
happened?
just it was I can't
It was
remember
like
whether it was
it
like a
was a
weather
natural
issue or like
disaster
a
or something.
pollution
Yeah,
issue or
no, it
yeah,
was
some
a
sort of
natural disaster.
disaster or
No, you're
something.
right. Damn it. No,
So
because
it was
they
yeah,
kept shooting to the reactions of the people in Mexico City
yeah,
bar. That's
yeah.
right. Damn it. Oh
So
well,
it
it
was
was
an
still a great game. It was still a
amazing
great
game.
game.
But
Anyway, yeah.
just yeah, unfortunately that was not in Mexico City. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be, but it didn't happen because of
Ah,
yeah,
that's
like I said,
right. That's right. I did my research about an hour before we started recording.
it's all good. It's all
But
good.
real quick, do you want to hear how that game ended?
I think I
I'll
remember
go
how
through
that
it
game
quickly.
ended.
I'll go through it quickly.
Yeah.
So Greg the Leg Zerline kicks a field goal to put the Rams up 54-51. Mahomes is driving down the field, throws an interception to, throwback name here, Marcus Peters, who was still in
Yeah.
the Rams back then. So then they, the Rams get the ball. Well, Andrew Whitworth, in his first year with the Rams, had a false start that killed the drive. So they were like, oh shit, the Rams are, within their own 20. This is perfect. Like Mahomes is going to drive down Johnny Hecker kicked a 68-yard punt to nail the Chiefs back in their own, territory. Mahomes starts driving down the field. LaMarcus Joyner sealed the game with another interception. How about that for a couple throwback Rams names for our LAFB fans?
It's true. It's true. But yeah, that was a sensational game.
Is
That was
LaMarcus
a
Joyner still
sensational
in the
game for
league?
sure. Yeah, I can't remember who he's playing with, but
I'm on
yeah.
it.
But yeah, so that's the international series that we have happening this year, the 5 games that we have. Ted, let's sort of jump.
Oh, Marcus Joyner is a Jet. Eesh.
I think I remember him signing with them. I
Mm,
just didn't realize that he was still with them. So
poor
okay,
bastard.
interesting.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the primetime slates here, Tad. Let's start with the Thursday night football games. Which game did you want to highlight as far as a really good matchup that you want to bring up?
All right, this is a team I've talked a lot about the past couple of weeks. I said they had a top 30 receiver and they got rid of him, and I'm right about that, by the way. And that is the Baltimore Ravens on the road. Don't smile like that. You're smiling like that because you know I'm right and you don't want to admit it. You're just
Sure,
Captain.
sure.
I gotta help my dad while my partner has to defend himself.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, no, that is exactly what.
You're stating facts. You're stating facts.
But anyway, so the Baltimore Ravens are going on the road to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 8. Now, here's why I love this game. Is I don't know what to make of either one of these teams. Because Tom Brady, the dude's got to age eventually. It's like it's just he's not this immortal hero, or maybe he is. I don't know at this point. Like I just feel like I could see either one of
He's
these
bathing in
teams.
those pits of
It's
Lazarus. That's
thank you.
exactly what
That's what I was
Stephen
trying to think of.
Lazarus
The Ra's al Ghul reference. That's exactly what I was looking for. Damn it.
is.
But yeah, no, so it's not like he can keep being this, ageless hero. So I could honestly see the Buccaneers being worse than people think. I could see the Ravens being worse than people think. That offense is kind of limited, to be honest now. But at the same time, it's Lamar Jackson. I'm not gonna doubt him. It's Tom Brady. I'm sure shit not gonna doubt him. I've been doing that for 10 years now, and he's been proving me wrong. So there are a couple ways to see this game playing out is Lamar Jackson sucks. Tom Brady does well. So Brady cements himself as further cements himself as the most accomplished quarterback of all time, not the greatest quarterback of all time, but the most accomplished quarterback of all time. And here's what's interesting there is because people forget, like, this is how the NFL season works is talk radio, first take, Colin Cowherd, all these people start talking. That's the game where people, if they lose big, people will start talking, is Lamar worth that contract he wants? Because don't forget, he still does not have that contract he wants. And I do not think he'll have it until after the season. So I think that's when that talk will start of like, do the Ravens move on from Lamar Jackson if they lose big? Now, if the Bucks lose big, then we start talking, is Brady done? Is this whole Dolphins thing that has been not really dominating, but been around the Dolphins this offseason, is that still going to happen? Now, or best of both worlds, they both do great, and we get an all-time classic Thursday night football game. Like this has potential to basically fuel our podcast for the next week, and that's all I can really ask.
Yeah, it should be a good matchup. And yeah, I think I've said this before, and I think I'm going to stand by it. Lamar Jackson will never win a Super Bowl.
Man, it's
I
hard
think he
to
can.
it's
I
hard
think
to argue
he can earn
against
the
you.
contract.
It's
It's very
and he can
possible because
he
I
can reach one. He can reach one, but if Mahomes can be solved with Super Bowl prep, Lamar Jackson sure shit can be solved with Super Bowl prep.
yeah, no, 100%. I really don't even think he could reach one. I think the
I think he
farthest
can
he'll
reach
ever
one.
get is a conference championship. But yeah, he could earn the contract, but just yeah, I'm gonna die on that hill that Lamar Jackson
I'm
will
with you,
never win
man.
a Super Bowl.
I'm slowly losing faith in Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
This
but
sounds like
either
a good
way, I think
segment in the future.
it's gonna be a really good game for sure between Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, now Todd Bowles. So I mean that should be a good defensive
Mhm.
matchup too. So I mean yeah, should be a fun game
Also,
on the
is there
Thursday
is
night slate.
there is there more different quarterback matchup than Tom Brady versus Lamar Jackson?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, Jesus.
Polar opposites as far as their
Yeah,
play styles.
exactly.
Polar opposites. I'm gonna go. I'm not even gonna go that far in the schedule. Week 4, I got September 29th. I got the Miami Dolphins versus the Cincinnati Bengals.
Love it.
So
Love it.
this is going to be the first game between both of the top two quarterbacks taken in the 2020 NFL draft. Now, before you go out and correct me, yes, Cincinnati played Miami in that 2020 season, but you have to remember Joe Burrow was put on IR because he had no offensive line and he got hurt, unfortunately.
How many
And so
that dude took so many hard hits. It's a
he
miracle
did.
he did not get David Card.
Seriously, seriously. So he did not play in that game. Tua Tagovailoa played in that game, but just yeah, you did not get the matchup. Hopefully, knock on wood, that everybody will be healthy in this game in week 4. We'll get the matchup of Tua versus Joe. Should be a good test for both teams because I mean, Tad, I think Miami's on that hype train right now. That's like
Oh,
they've signed all these
they
guys,
they for
traded
sure
for
are.
Tyreek Hill, signed Melvin Ingram. They signed every running back under the sun to add to the backfield. They got the young head coach and Mike McDaniel. So it's like all the hype is riding in Miami. So I think at week 4, everybody's still going to be on that hype train, regardless of what their record is. That's like, oh, Miami will turn around. They have the players, they have the coaching. They're going to adjust and they're going to do fine. Whereas Cincinnati is looking to prove that 2021 wasn't a fluke year. That's like they have the pieces. They're all young. The defense is still going to be good. Joe Burrow is still going to be Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase is going to be great. I mean, like that's going to be a good matchup to see. Also, obviously, this is an interesting wrinkle too. Two young head coaches who have a very similar coaching philosophy, because you have to remember Zach Taylor branched off of the Sean McVay coaching tree, and Mike McDaniel has branched off of the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. Obviously, they're all, not all of them, maybe all of them, were there in Washington during that time in 2016, if I remember correctly. So it's like they've all been around each other for a while. So they're sharing, very similar coaching styles and play calling possibly. So this should be an interesting coaching matchup as well. So I'm looking forward to Miami versus Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football in Week 4.
And you got white versus minority with McDaniel and Taylor.
That is true. That is true.
Is
Niners
it
got
is
some
it true, though?
compensatory
Is it
picks,
true,
so I
though?
love it. I
Is it
love
true,
it.
though?
But yeah, should be a good game. Should be a good
Yeah,
game.
no, I think it will be a good game. And the only thing I really have to say about this game is I usually hate these sports cliches, but that is the definition of a prove it game with Tua. You're
100%.
a quarterback of the future. Prove it. That is not a gimme defense anymore. That is a tough Cincinnati defense that they've done nothing but bolster this offseason. So if Tua does well that game in prime time, I'm a believer. Because right now, I'm not a doubter. I'm one of those guys who's like, is Tua legit? I'm like, I don't know. And I think that video of him like underthrowing Tyreek was a little overblown. Like, okay, it was a bad throw, whatever. But yeah, I don't know one way or the other with Tua, and that is a game that will really determine where I fall on that spectrum.
And defensive side, like he has all the pieces now. Like he has
Oh,
a legitimate
there's
running
zero
game.
excuse for
He's
him.
got Tyreek Hill.
He has a
got
running game.
all these
He has,
pieces
like,
and the
it's-
passing offense too. So it's like no more excuses. No more excuses.
He has 6 starting caliber running backs now. It's ridiculous.
The stable is set or full in Miami for sure. So, Tad, let's sort of jump into the Monday night slate here. What's one game that you want to talk about?
I mean, we just talked about him. Let's talk about a little bit more of the Bengals, shall we?
There we go.
Bills are on the road in Cincinnati in week 17.
Ooh, that's going to be a good
one. That's going to be
That's gonna
massive.
be a good
That
one.
is a potentially top seed deciding game right there. That is a Joe Burrow and Cincinnati Bengals. Prove to me you are legit here.
Exactly.
Because look, we all know the Bills are legit. There's no arguing that. Bills are Super Bowl favorites for a reason, and they are the favorites, believe it or not. Last I checked, they were plus 350. I believe they were plus 350 last I checked. I'm sure it's moved since then. But plus 350, the Bills are the favorites, not just in the AFC, the NFL to win the Super Bowl. So, okay, Bills are legit. Bengals, show us that that was not a fluke. I hope it's not a fluke. I would love if the Bengals turned into a powerhouse team. That'd be such a great. It's kind of like when the Chiefs became a powerhouse team. I was like, I want to hate you, but I'm kind of down for this. Like, it's a random team. Like, this is kind of cool. Let's make it happen. So it's the same thing with the Bengals. Like, if you want to become a powerhouse team with Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and who's the other receiver that's really good? I'm blanking on.
Tyler Boyd.
Thank you. Like, if you want to be the high-powered offense, go for it. I am 100% there for that. But this is your prove-it game. Now, the one concern I do have is it's week 17, and while they did work on that offensive line, we still yet to see that, it's worked out. So hopefully it has. I do have my doubts that Burrow is actually going to play in this game.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm not going to fight you. That's a really good game.
That's
looking forward to that one
game.
in week 17 to end the season. So I'm going to go late in the season too. Maybe not as late as you. I'm going to week 12, November 28th, Pittsburgh Steelers versus your Indianapolis Colts. So late in the season, I think both these teams are definitely going to be pushing for a playoff spot in the AFC as long as everybody's healthy and everything's going according to plan. But I think this is the big thing that I like with this game. You sort of brought this up before with Matt Ryan and Mac Jones. That's sort of, the old school versus the new school. So this is a very similar thing. I could very much see this happening. Matt Ryan obviously leading the Colts, but I think at this point, I think at this point,
don't you put this evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Kenny Pickett right
you
now.
son of a bitch.
I'm pretty sure they'll be starting Kenny Pickett by this time, and I'd like to see that matchup between Pickett and Matt Ryan. That'll be a lot of fun to see the old versus the new there.
How dare you do this to me? How dare you, sir?
Also, great game for running back enthusiasts. You got Jonathan
yeah.
Taylor with the
That's actually a
Indianapolis
good one. I
Colts.
didn't think
You got
about that.
Najee Harris with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's going to be a lot of fun. And both these teams have really good defenses too. So I think this is going to be a very contested match between both teams in the AFC. Like I said, possibly fighting for a playoff spot, seeding, whatever it is, division, obviously, everything that's part of the playoff picture. Both these teams are going to be part of that. So it's going to be crucial to get this win on Monday night. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this game.
I hate you.
For picking your Colts?
No, for putting my boy Pickett against my boy Ryan. It's like telling me which kid I love more, even though I don't have kids, but it's the same deal. But no, I think that's gonna be good. And plus it just reeks of classic track game for the Colts, because I don't think the Steelers are gonna be that good, but they're still the Steelers. And they still have Mike Tomlin. So I could see them being like pretty far out of the playoff race, and yet they still fuck up our chances to make the playoffs. Like that just reeks of a classic Colts loss right there.
Very, very possible. So
Hate this team.
Let's keep things moving. We got the Sunday night slate that we want to discuss here. So, Tad, which Sunday night game do you want to highlight?
I like week 14, Chiefs at Broncos. Not so much for the Chiefs.
Solid.
I think they kind of have that one pretty locked out, or at least they'll be pretty solid in the playoff race. I think that will be a big game for the Broncos, because I'm not as confident as some in them. I think that they will certainly compete for a playoff spot, but just in division that tough, like that is going to be a tough division. Russell Wilson's getting older. That offensive line, in my opinion, is still a little shaky. So I think the Broncos at that point, week 14, to remind our viewers, I think they'll be on the verge of like make or break if we're really in this playoff hunt or not. So if they can win that primetime game against the Chiefs, a division rival, and Patrick Mahomes, which they are totally capable of doing, then I think that's when we're like, okay, the Broncos actually have a shot. Like they can get in the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, who knows what's going to happen, especially with the quarterback like Russell Wilson. But I think that will be a big turning point, either one way or the other, of like our season's done, or this is going to make our season for the Broncos. So again, on the Chiefs side, I don't think it's really going to be that groundbreaking of a game, win or lose. But on the Broncos side, that is probably going to be the game of the season.
Honestly, you look at the AFC West, and you could put any of the AFC West matchups in prime time, and people are going to be excited for it. Because
I almost picked like two other
I wanted to pick
Broncos.
A lot of Chiefs Chargers games. I wanted to go Raiders Broncos. There were so many AFC West games I wanted to go to, because they're all hopefully going to be good. Obviously, we'll see what happens when the season starts. Maybe unfortunately, the injury bug can hit a team, or just the coaching style doesn't work, or whatever it is. It's just like. But yeah, on paper, I'm really excited by all of these matchups in the AFC West. So yeah, definitely should be a good game for there between the Broncos and the Chiefs. So I'm also going to go with a division game. I'm going to go a little bit earlier though. I'm going to go to week 6, October 16th. I got the Dallas Cowboys playing the Philadelphia Eagles. So very similar to the Miami Dolphins. The Eagles have a lot of optimism surrounding them. They obviously traded for A.J. Brown. They had Devontae Smith. They made some good additions to the defense. They're going to be contenders for the NFC East. And obviously, you got the Dallas Cowboys that won the NFC East last season. So it's like you got the battle of pretty much, Tad, I think it's safe to say one of these two teams is going to win the NFC East. I don't have faith in the Giants. I don't have faith in the Commanders either. So this is going to be a crucial test that the Eagles need to prove themselves that they can win and contend in this division. And the Cowboys, who are very, they fall victim to this. They always have the hype there, and then they always seem to fall apart and disappoint, yet somehow they're always part of the playoff conversation, because they're always hovering around that spot where it's like, yeah, they're playoff contenders, but then they're also kind of playoff pretenders. It's like a little bit of both sides that you're playing with the Dallas Cowboys there. And I think the big thing, you brought this up with Tua Tagovailoa, this is a very crucial game for Jalen Hurts, too.
You're just saying his last name to show off. Stop doing that.
Well, the fact that I can say it, I'm going to say it as much as I can then.
Tagovailoa.
There you go. You're getting better. You're getting better. But yeah, this is a very crucial season for Jalen Hurts, and I think this is a big game on Sunday night against a divisional opponent. This is another prove-it game for a young quarterback that wants to be the franchise quarterback. You need to prove it on Sunday night. So yeah, I think it's a good early test between both of these NFC East opponents here.
Now, I am so sick of this goddamn division, because they always get all these primetime games. And I'm not with you that, the Commanders and Giants are out of it. They're not out of it. But do you want to know why they're not out of it? Because this division is unfiltered crap. I will quote one of my favorite movies. There's the AFC North. There's the AFC West. There's 50 foot of crap. And then there's the NFC East. Like every year, just because they're these giant markets, they get all this love. Oh, it's going to be so competitive. Oh, who knows who's going to win this? Who knows who's going to win it? Because it's 4 crappy teams going up against other crappy teams. So, no, I do not like this game. Jalen Hurts is look, nothing against him. I actually like Jalen Hurts more than most people, which surprises me. But it's just no. I am so sick of these NFC East primetime games. Just get them out of my life already. Stop it. I'm sick of it. It's annoying. They're always like 13-3, and then everyone freaks out, going, "Oh, are the Cowboys for real at 3-4?" Like it's the most annoying thing in the world. I hate the NFC East with a passion.
All right. Well, you don't have to watch the games.
Also,
The rest of us
I
will.
live in Dallas, so if I show up dead tomorrow, you now know why.
Exactly. So
Apparently, you might
that's
get a second team now, so that's another thing.
so that's pretty much the games that we wanted to dive into here. We got into some of the primetime games, we got into the international series, and of course, we touched on a game in both of our personal team schedules to see how those will play out. So overall, Tad, I'm very excited with the season. With the schedule release, that's like the next milestone as far as like we're that much closer to NFL football happening. And hey, I mean, we always got great updates for you during the off season. A lot of great content for you. And the best way you can always find out about everything that's happening with the Decide guys is make sure you interact with us on Twitter. You see the banner down there below. You got my personal handle, I'm Decide23. You got Tad's at Tad Decide94, and you got the show handle, the Decide Guys. And of course, we are now on Instagram as well. So make sure you interact with us there at the Decide Guys as well. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube video here on the LAFB Network channel. We have our own individual playlist. All you have to do is just hit that subscribe button. Always be up to date when all the latest videos are dropping. And of course, the big one, wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you subscribe there as well, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, the LAFB Network website. There's a ton of platforms out there to listen to our podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Always be up to date when the latest episodes are dropping there. So, I mean, guys, we can't thank you enough for tuning into today's episode. We definitely appreciate all the subscribes that are happening. And yeah, we definitely look forward to catching you guys with later episodes. But yeah, to everybody that's listening, who's watching, who's, interacting with us on Twitter, who follows on Instagram, anything and everything, guys, we really just can't thank you enough.